Guys, in this video, I'm going to go through 3 different examples identifying bias in actual factual news sources that you may have already used. And hint, these 3 examples may be the same 3 questions that are on your quiz, or same 3 examples that you can go over on your quiz. All right, this first one comes from NBC News. Biden administration plans messaging campaign to stress Johnson & Johnson vaccine's benefits. All right, so this one's talking about the vaccine, and right here in the title, we can already see some bias, some exclusion. They're talking about the benefits. They're not really covering the risks, and of course, there are risks with any vaccine, including the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine. So we could say some exclusion right here because they're not talking about those cons or those risks. Some administration COVID-19 advisors are circulating talking points to medical surrogates and allies that include data tables demonstrating that all of the vaccines in the pipeline have shown dramatic decrease in severe illness, according to a slide obtained by NBC News. Every vaccine that has published data shows no cases of hospitalization among those who were vaccinated, the table says. All right, so they're like talking about these data tables, these slides, but they don't say where these slides or data tables come from, what they're about, or even like who created them. They just say, hey, look, we have some information. Here's what it says. So they're not telling us what those things are saying. So that's an unsubstantiated claim. Number 2 comes from CNN, and it's talking about the Texas weather issue or winter storm. In an interview with CNN's Anderson Cooper, Bill Gates said deaths during Texas's winter freeze were preventable, caused by the state's decision not to weatherize its energy. We can go ahead and just stop right here. We already know from that podcast that we listened to when we were getting our background information that there are multiple different things that caused this energy crisis in Texas to happen, not just this one thing. So there are many different factors. So we could go ahead and say exclusion on that one as well, not covering all of the different possible factors. All right, example number 3. This one comes from Newsmax. Politics, green energy shift, COVID-19 restrictions ravaged Texas. Yes, this one is also about Texas energy. Last week, Texas experienced a cold snap that resulted in serious statewide damage, death, and destruction. The collapse of the state's energy grid left millions and millions of Texans in the dark and freezing for days at a time. Tragically, at least 30 people died. There are many reasons why Texas became like a third world country, and we should be careful not to pin all the blame on just one factor. All right, so we can kind of see a little bit of spin right here. Like this is a very dramatic comparison, comparing Texas to a third world country that can't provide basic needs to their people. But it seems clear that the disaster was to a large degree caused by political decisions to shift toward green energy generated from solar and wind, and by Governor Abbott's authoritarian COVID restrictions. So we know that from our background research that we did, that it was not just these factors that contributed to this Texas energy. So again, we have some spin right here comparing Texas to a third world country, and we also have some exclusion. They are not talking about all of the factors. So hopefully that helps you out with your quiz that you can take today or tomorrow, your choice.